Hi there. Welcome to the Pizzing with Les the Chef. I'm sorry about that. I'm just checking this bloody microphone. As much as I make all these videos, I'm still not 100% on all the finicky things. I respect people who make a living off of doing this. I know there are people who just have that many followers and that many views that they can actually make a proper living off of YouTube. They say to make an actual, like a nice sizable income from YouTube videos, you need more or less about 10,000 views per video, just to give you an idea. So I do this just to share knowledge, because I get tired of being asked on Twitter a lot of questions. I don't mind. Let me not say I get tired. I don't mind answering, because it means a lot of people get to understand food better. But yeah, it's easier to demonstrate how to do something than to explain it in how many characters is Twitter again? 280? Or via a blog. Just videos are a lot easier, as much as there's such a mission. Like, just to make one video from recipe to recording to editing to cleaning it up, easily about 6 hours. And that's a quick one. I've been doing simple recipes, and those are the simple ones. It takes a lot longer when you start getting more technical, when we start getting to the difficult stuff. Eventually we'll get to the difficult stuff, but yeah, we'll do that with an assistant with me. I'm doing this during lockdown alone, hence now the big breaks between everything. Anyway, enough about that. Today we are doing soups on the table. There's something I dropped on the floor. And I'm dressed like I'm about to ask to speak to the manager, because it is cold in Joburg right now. We've got a cold front. And I think officially this is going to be the temperature until springtime comes. The next week we're averaging about 11 degrees a day. 2 degrees away from single digit maximums. I mean, and Joburg is ugly in winter. But what I like about winters is one pot wonders. The stews, the soups, the steamed breads, the things that take long to cook but warm up the house. And today we are doing one of them. We are doing a soup, a butternut soup. I'll do different soups as winter goes, just to show you the differences. Soup is not actually that easy. I think because you see one bowl in front of you without a assortment of different things, like a starch and a protein and garnishes and all that, you might be mistaken and thinking that a soup is easy to do. No. It actually gets very, very technical. It's also one of the ways you test how good a chef is. Consommes, for example. Consomme is a flavorful, clear broth, to put it simply. So it's a bowl of liquid that you can literally see through. And there's nothing floating in it. There's nothing, unless the chef wants something to be in there floating. And to make a proper consomme is technical as hell. So in interviews, chefs don't actually sit down during an interview. We don't do the things that we do in corporate, where you sit in front of someone at a desk and you talk. No, with the chef you first do a cook-off. So they give you a mystery box. All those shows that you see on TV, your Chopped, your whatever it is, where they have a mystery box concept, that is actually taken from reality. It's taken from how chefs are taught and trained. Our exams are mystery boxes, our interviews are mystery boxes. That's how you test how good someone is at cooking, by giving them a mystery box and seeing what they come up with. So what tends to happen, if you can pull off a consomme and it is full of flavor but clear, like a glass of whatever it is, a cocktail or whatnot, then that signifies you know what you're doing in the kitchen. But when we get to consommes, we'll get into all that technical stuff. So soups all over the world are a common thing. Here in South Africa, though, we are a bit weird, a bit different, because of all the various countries who have tried to colonize, who have succeeded colonizing, and then failed at colonizing, and then just came, left people here. You can't say they came and left because, yeah, they settled. And I don't know why people try to stay away from that word settlers, because that's what they did. They settled in South Africa. The French, the Dutch, the English, they're all here. And in so doing, it also affects our food. Butternut soup is one of those things. I've traveled the world, lucky enough, and I've realized that the way we make butternut soup is nothing like anywhere else in the world. Squash soups everywhere else are not like the way we do them here. We put spices in ours, we load a lot of flavor in there, but then what we also do is borrow from the French and add cream to a butternut soup. Whereas in England, their soups tend to not have cream, and the proper English ones, if we're talking contemporary, some of them do add cream now, but classic English soups do not have cream. They tend to have your barleys, they tend to have things like that, leeks in there, they tend to have parsnips, onions, potatoes. Yeah, I'm not a fan of them because of my dad. He loves them, so we grew up having a whole lot of them. And whenever I see bones in a soup, I immediately cringe because it reminds me of my dad's soups. He loves bone soups, and those are typically English. And yeah. Anyway, so what I did in my book, I went and played around with that though. So I took a broth and I went, instead of putting bones in there, I took all the bones out. I made the broth as flavorful as possible, and then put chunks of ham in there, or chunks of cold meat. And that is how I put a twist on it. Then we jump all the way across Asia to the other side. If we were talking East Asian soups, they tend to have starches in there. So there'll be noodles and things like that in their rice, in some of their soups. They'll also be clear. They have bits and pieces of meat. Some will have fresh veggies in there added as well. So they tend to also have some sort of broth kind of soup, but they put other things in it as well. So it can be seafood or whatnot. They're the type of soups they get in Asia. Then I'm coming back again to France. France will tend to be soups that are pureed, and they'll tend to either have, well, actually most of the things, the sauces and the stocks and the soups and stuff like that from France will either have butters or have alcohol, or it will have I said alcohol, to have a cream like I mentioned earlier, but they also tend to be blends as well. So it will be like a puree. Your butternut soup would be something that, if it wasn't South African, would be something French. So they'll have the courgette soups where there's cream and then the courgette is actually blended, stuff like that. And then if you go all the way across to America, jumping the pond as they say, their soups will be chunky. So there'll be your corn chowders, your what's the other one I'm trying to think of? I've forgotten. Anyway, but yeah, they tend to have chowders. They tend to have things like that where there's chunks of whatever the main ingredient is. So those are the main differences. Like I said earlier, it gets very technical. Soups are not just a simple concept. They really do get technical. Anyway, back to today's one. Because of all the different nationalities and countries that have tried to call South Africa home and eventually did call South Africa home, and also the slave trade that happened as well, the Cape Malays down in Cape Town, butternut soup in South Africa is typical of the South African flavor profile. So it has Asian additions, to coin a word. So that would be your fennels in there, it will have your herbs in there, it will have your curry powder, it will have coriander, and that is how I make my butternut soup. But then, like I said earlier, you borrow your cream from the French, and there's butter from the French as well. But then you also add a stock to it. So it's a fusion of different type of ingredients from all over that have come to make the soup what it is, and it is why it is so popular in South Africa. Butternut is a sweet pumpkin, but it's from the pumpkin family. It is sweet, so here you are, you're adding spices to that sweetness. So the South African flavor profile is a sweet and sour or sweet and chili one, and that is why the soup is so popular. I always wonder why this thing is so big. Whenever winter hits, it is always people with butternut soup, and it's because of the flavor profile. It's just there's so many things in it that makes it the way it is. When I used to work at the Sabi Sands, we had to make a different soup every day. Like every day on the menu, we had to kick out a new soup. So I got very creative at making soups. I have a broccoli and parmesan soup. I have an amarula and leek soup. I have, there's so many. I've made every kind of crazy idea of a soup that you can think of. That is why my book has so many soups, by the way, if you're wondering. And it's also because soups are hearty, and they're just warm. They remind me of a happy place. It's why I like making them. It's why I like sharing them. And this is one of the ones. It took me years to perfect it, playing around with ingredients, working out what to add, what to take out. And you might look at all the ingredients I'm about to show you and say, this is way too much. That's understandable, but they're there for a reason. And the amount of love that you put in the soup will give it back to you when you taste it. Anyway, enough of me talking. I talk way too much on these videos, but yeah, this is how I make butternut soup. Oh yeah, one last thing, you need a stick blender. Even if you have a standing food processor, you need a stick blender because it blends your butternut very, very fine, which is what you want. You do not want it to be a chunky puree. So try, please. If you don't have a stick blender, then you can use a food processor, but it won't be the exact final product like you would get with a stick blender. You can also use a smoothie blender. I wouldn't recommend it because they tend to have glass, and you are working with hot products. And what tends to happen with glass, as soon as you blend the hot liquid, once you open that blender, everything pops. And you're going to have a right mess once you do that. Just something I've seen in the industry. If you don't mind cleaning up, then you can go ahead and do that. But if you have a stick blender, please use that. The reason I keep looking that way is because I'm looking at one. I've got a Bosch one. I haven't opened. It's brand new. I'm going to be doing unboxing videos showing you all these things. The problem is I'm not sure if this stick blender I'm allowed to show you as yet. So I'm going to be using my own one from the kitchen, which is behind me. This one I'll just check on my mails if I'm allowed to show you it, and I'll do an unboxing of the Bosch one and all the other Bosch equipment that I have behind this camera. But yeah, this is how you make butternut soup. Very hearty, especially for this current cold time we're having in South Africa. I hope you enjoy it. One of my most favorite recipes from my book, the thing that I keep talking about. I need to stop talking about this book actually. Apparently this print run is getting close to running out. So if you don't have a copy, I suggest you order one quickly, because from here we're going to be going digital. We'll be making digital copies only. It depends on the pull as well. If more people want the physical one, then maybe we'll carry on reprinting and reprinting. But yeah, anyway, that's another story for another day. Enjoy. Okay, these are the ingredients you're going to need. Cubed butternut. If you're cubing it yourself, please try to get the sizes as close to the same kind of size as possible. That means you're going to get even cooking if you have your butternut cubed relatively the same size. You won't get big chunks that are undercooked and other chunks that are overcooked. Okay, in here we've got stock. I'm using a freshly made beef stock. You can use any kind of stock you like. It will alter your taste. I like my butternut soup slightly more savory and more meaty. But if you don't have a liquid stock, instead of using stock cubes, please do not use stock cubes, rather use water. Okay, in here this is cream. Let me run through these. This over here is a mild curry powder. You can use a hot curry powder if you like. This over here is turmeric. We've got chopped celery. We've got diced onion. Over here is black peppercorns which have been cracked. This is sea salt, fine sea salt. This is minced garlic. Over here we've got a medley of different spices. This is a smoked paprika. Over here is cinnamon powder. This over here is smoked, I'm talking nonsense. This over here is cayenne pepper. And over here is ginger, dried ginger. In this row over here is coriander seeds, and this over here is fennel, and then we've got butter. These are the ingredients you're going to need to make butternut soup the way I do. Yes, all these ingredients are necessary. It took me years to perfect this recipe, and these ingredients are here for a reason. Okay, whilst your butternut is in the oven, you're going to saute off your vegetables. This is treacle sugar on the side. We'll be adding that once we've browned our onion. That goes in our onion. There goes our celery. Stir that up. You're not trying to brown your onion and celery, you're just softening them. Okay, you want them soft though. You don't want them still tender. The reason is the softer, the easier to blend. Remember, you're trying to get everything as smooth as possible with the soup. So try to keep your heat at a medium, not too high of a heat. Let them get soft. Your onions are soft and ready once they become translucent. Oh yeah, we've got our butternut straight from the oven.